Hello everyone and welcome. This is Tom Spear from 10th Gate Yoga and our program Tools for Today and Tomorrow. I'm coming to the faculty of both the middle school and the high school, and this is part of a program that's being funded by the Portsmouth Prevention Coalition and is the result of a great deal of cooperation and guidance from the administration in the school department and the faculty, management, principals of both schools. And I'm very pleased to be able to offer this stress management and self-regulation program to both faculties, the middle school and the high school. What we're doing is we're coming to you once a week in about a half-hour segment that will be available for the entire week. And then each Monday we will bring a new half-hour video to you. In this program, we'll have a variety of practices that I'll share with you. We'll practice them, and ideally there'll be things that you yourself can start to incorporate into your daily regimens. It's just so important that we have tools to deal with the extra level of stress and anxiety that you are experiencing going through the incredible work that you're doing to try to create distance learning for all of the students here. My hat goes off to you for being able to do what you're doing, because it's no small task. So the first thing I'd like to share with you is an important distinction that I think most people may be aware of, but it's really important to understand the difference between these two words and the actual implications of the words. And it's the difference between stress and anxiety. They're often interchanged, they're often in the same sentence, but they are two different things. And I want to try to share a little bit about what makes them different and why, in my opinion, anxiety is much more the thing to really work on and be aware of. So stress is typically, it's an event. It's something that happens to you that you experience. It can be a physical experience. It can be a mental experience too. And it creates a response. You know, if you trip and you're about to fall, your body goes into an immediate, very fast reflex response and hopefully keeps you from falling and breaking the fall. A lot of stuff happens very quickly in your body, and boom, you know, that's the response that the body has to that event, which is you were tripping and you were about to fall. But it's also a lot of other things that create stress. And today in this world, it's something as seemingly simple as a text or an email. It can even be the sound of a text or an email that can be stressful because of the connotations of what might be there. But it's an event. Stress is an event. So it's that email, it's that you almost tripped. It could be a near miss driving your car and whoa, that's very scary, that's very stressful. These are events, they're moments in time that you experience with your body, with your mind. But they pass, and then they're behind us. They're in the past. That's stress. Stress is a natural thing. It's part of the world. It's always been around. And it's something that just occurs. So we should be pretty good with it, in that we know that it's always going to be around, not every moment, but it's always present in some way, some form. Anxiety, though, is our response to stress, our mental processing of stress. And in particular, it's the holding on to whatever that experience was for long periods of time. You can't forget how you felt when you almost tripped and fell. You can't forget about that nasty email. And it stays in your consciousness, in your mind for days, weeks, months, really way, way, way longer than it should. And that ruminating, that perpetuating of that experience keeps you stressed, keeps bringing the body back to that experience of stress, where if it's stressful enough, heart rate goes up, blood pressure goes up. You're feeling very, whoa, frazzled, nervous, all kinds of emotional energy is in that. Well, the anxiety just keeps that going and going and going and going. That's not good. That's not healthy. And what we are trying to do in this work, the tools for today and tomorrow, is to help give you practices, share these practices with you that can help cut out that anxiety, lessen it, remove it, keep the mind more clear. Because if all you're thinking about is how you felt when you almost tripped, you have no room for much else. And unfortunately, you've got a lot of other things you have to be able to do in providing these lessons for your students and coordinating all the technology and da-da-da-da-da. You can't be thinking about that one event. So having the ability to manage anxiety is really fundamental, and especially right now. So the tool that I'll share with you first, which I share with every single person that I ever have the opportunity to be in front of, kids, adults, no matter what. And it's called the box breath. Some of you may know it. I hope that you're still using it. If you do know it, those of you that it's new to you, this is an amazing technique because it works with every single person that tries it. Doesn't matter who you are, how old you are, etc. It works every single time. And it was developed by the Navy for the Navy SEALs, who do the craziest stuff you can ever imagine. And that's their job description. And the guidance at the Navy was saying, well, hey, how can we help these folks so they can do their best job in the craziest of situations? Because that's what we asked them to do. What can be done to help them? And they came up with the box breath. And what it does, simply in a couple of minutes' time, is it takes the mental landscape of usually high anxiety, high tension, high stress, and it changes it. It brings it down. And in the process of bringing it down, it also brings clarity so you can focus. And that right there is probably the most valuable thing for us, is to have clarity and focus, because it's very difficult with all that we're dealing with, all that's coming at us, to have any kind of focus, any kind of clarity. So this technique is just so fantastic. And it's also something you can visualize, because it's called the box for a reason. There's 4 stages to the box, 4 elements, 4 sequences that make up the breath. And that is basically like a box, 4 squares. So it's very simple. It's done in a 4 count. So you're going to count, on a second pace, like 1, 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000. That should be your pace. On each of the 4 stages, that's the pace, 4 counts. The first stage, you're going to inhale slowly in a 4 count. Then you're going to hold the breath, this is stage 2, in that suspended inhale for 4 counts. Then stage 3, we're going to exhale the breath out in 4 counts, slowly letting the breath out, emptying all of it out. And the 4th stage is holding the breath out in the exhale. So we have an inhale, a hold of the inhale, an exhale, and a hold of the exhale. That makes the cycle. 4 corners, 4 stages, the box. We'll try this for 2 minutes, and then we'll do it for a little bit longer. And then, you can see how it actually works in just that shorter period of time. So I'll guide you through the first 2 minutes in terms of the stage and the pacing, etc. And then you guys can do it on your own in the second with your own guidance and see if you can maintain the pace, okay? So let's sit up straight and tall. And if you can, close your eyes, because that will just really diminish the amount of stimulation that's coming in that really occupies your mind. And we'll start with the first stage, which is an inhale in 4 counts. And holding the breath in that inhale for 4 counts. Then exhaling the breath out in 4 counts. And holding the breath out for 4 counts. Inhale. Hold the inhale. Exhale. Hold the breath out. Inhale. Hold. Exhale. Hold it 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 out. Now take a big breath in and exhale. And if you can, just close the eyes and just see if you can notice any shift from that 2 minutes of holding that sequence. Okay, so let's take a breath in and exhale. Now we'll go for a total of 4 minutes, same sequence. I'll start us off with the first cycle, and then you guys can continue on your own rhythm. Try to maintain what we're doing here. Okay, so let's begin. Inhale. Holding the breath. Exhale. Hold it out. And now continue. Last time through. Now take a smooth breath in through your nose. Fill completely, and then hold the breath at the top. Closing the eyes if you can. And now slowly let the breath out through your nose. And just be very still if you can. Just try to observe what has changed inside. Where do you notice those changes? What we were achieving in that cycle of the 4-4-4-4 is we were taking 16 seconds approximately to take one breath, meaning that in a minute we would only take 4 breaths. When we get to that pace, we've slowed the body down, and we've also taken the mind down, because the mind is very directly connected to your breath rate. So if you're breathing really fast and really shallow, your mind is going a million miles an hour. When we can slow the breath way down, we start to slow the mind way down. And when the mind gets calmer, slower, all of a sudden all that busyness, that lack of space that you're feeling begins to disappear. And that's the essence, really, in my opinion, of the box breath, is that it takes us down to slow pace where we can all of a sudden now start to concentrate and actually have a little bit of focus on what we're doing, because we're not going a million miles an hour. And that was clearly, I think, the objective that the Navy was trying to generate with this sequence for their people, so they could be really good at what they had to do in crazy situations. So we have just one thing left to be able to do now in this half hour, and it's to talk about one of the other fundamental breaths that you should have in your toolbox, should be able to utilize whenever you need it. And it's called long, deep breathing. And it's, for some, it's a shift, because when you breathe in and you take a long breath in, a big breath in, you should be expanding. And your belly should be expanding as well. It should be pushing forward, because you're expanding the lungs so they come actually down, and your diaphragm is actually moving downward to make room. And as it comes down, it pushes out so that there's room for those lungs to fully expand to their full capacity. That's what we want to be doing in long, deep breathing. We want to take the biggest breath we can. Because if we can take a huge breath, we're taking more in, more oxygen in, which will be used by our body. One of the big problems we've got in our world today is that a lot of people have become very shallow breathers, because we sit, we're not moving that much, and in some cases we sit for hours and hours and hours without moving at all, and our breath just gets very shallow. And that is just not good, because we're not getting enough breath, and we're actually starving some of the organs and tissue, and that leads to all kinds of things that eventually become health problems. So long, deep breathing means we take through the nose, we take a slow, full, deep breath in, and as we do, we expand everything. Lungs, abdomen, diaphragm comes down, belly comes out. So put your hands right there on your belly and take a breath in, slowly and fully, as big a breath as you can, but not fast, slowly. And just feel that expansion. And then as you exhale, everything should be coming back, contracting, and the belly comes in. So that's the motion you should be creating in long, deep breathing. If you found that when you were taking the breath in, your hands were going inward, your belly was coming inward. That's called paradoxical breathing. And it is a very common breath that people have adopted. And there's a lot of reasons for it, but it's not right. It's not proper. It's not the right way to breathe. And it's actually restricting the amount of breath you can take in. So long, deep breathing is very important that you understand what has to be the breath cycle. You have to be expanding as you take the breath in, and you have to be contracting as the breath goes out. That allows you to take the full breath, meaning really bring in deep breath in. All the lobes of the lung get breath, get oxygen. It gets into the bloodstream, it gets into the body. We completely depend on that oxygen to live, period. So shallow breathing, paradoxical breathing are restrictions on what we need to be doing, which is to breathe deeply. So let's take our hands, put them right down here at the belly. And we'll go through a cycle of a few of these breaths just so you can feel what's going on. So let's begin. Feel that expansion on the inhale. Feel the contraction on the exhale. Really slow this breath down. Don't speed through this. Really take your time. What you want to be feeling is about maybe 5, 6, 7 seconds for that inhale, and the same for the exhale. That's a much bigger breath than you normally take. That's why it's called long, deep breathing. This also relaxes the body because we're taking less breaths. We're slowing things down. But it's also really important for those who may be paradoxical breathers or shallow breathers that you start to really build this practice into the body. There's one other way in which you can really gauge how you're doing, and that's just to lie down on your back. And you can take a cushion, something small like this, and just place it right on your belly. And as you're on your back, as you take that breath in, the cushion, whatever it is you have on your belly, should rise. You should feel that expansion. As you exhale, you should feel everything coming back. This you can do anytime. You can do it in a classroom when we ever get back to being in a classroom. You can do it wherever you are. Nothing really shows other than you're seeing a little bit of movement of the chest and the body. But that's not distracting. It's certainly not an obstacle. It is a great tool in, again, bringing us to a clear, quiet-er state. So with all the stress that you're going through, with all that's on your plate, these two practices, the box breath and long, deep breathing, you should be using them right away. So the beautiful thing is that this will be available for an entire week. You can access it whenever you want, as many times as you want. And that way you can really learn these practices and get them embedded into your body so you really do know them. And then just remember to use them when you've had an episode, a thing, whatever, an event that makes things not so good. They will work. So in closing out, there's just one last thing for you to be aware of, and that is, as part of this work we're doing with the Prevention Coalition, they would like to have your input each week on these classes so they can gauge, how many people are really getting involved and what's happening for them, if anything at all, is noticeable. So here is a scan that you can take your phone right up to and get the picture, and then it will take you right to the link, the survey itself, which is only a couple of minutes. It's just a few questions. It's very easy for you to fill out. And we'll do this every week. There's also a link. You can copy that down if you're not able to scan that code. And that link will take you directly to the survey. So that's it for today and this week. I'll see you next week. Please do your best to see these videos and practice what we're teaching. These are really meant to help you out and give you some tools that can be useful throughout these very challenging weeks. So thank you so much, and I'll see you next week. Bye-bye now.